Warning for all the virgin ears out there. If you can't take words like fuck, shit, damn it, then you best leave this goddamn channel right now. Heed my words. Heed my words. You will hear a lot of it if you continue from here. Have a blessed day.
Okay, so this is just going to be an intro into YBezmenov's lecture he did on basically the creation of the social justice warrior movement in America. We think that social justice warriors on average are just a manifestation of our culture and society. And we oftentimes forget that it was a deliberate manifestation. It was created. It was created by very specific means. There was a purpose. It wasn't just some random flowering of people's consciousness to all of a sudden, you know, stand up for gay rights and demonize white privilege. It was purposeful, and its purpose is taking place right now in war that we have going on between anti-Trump supporters and Trump supporters. All right. The people that want to get rid of free speech because they're offended. Well, yeah, that wasn't just some random creation. It was very, very specific, and it took place over a span of 5 or so generations since about the hippie movement. The hippie movement was the KGB's infiltration into American culture. It probably started earlier than that, but we'll just start from there because it's a good starting point to really see the divide between what's seen as traditional American values of racism. No, I'm just kidding. American populism and nationalism to what we have today, where we have this idea that we shouldn't even have borders and that people shouldn't even know what type of gender they are anymore. And people need to adhere to their own race and their racial ethnicity, whatever the hell that means. Like I said, my channel is about no race. I don't want to demonize anybody's culture or their ethnicity. I'm not saying you shouldn't be your culture or your ethnicity. What I'm saying is pride is the same as guilt. It's the other side of the coin. Being guilty for one's culture is the same as being prideful in one's culture. It's the other side of the egoic coin. Having an ego, having a sense of identity. It's okay to have a sense of identity, but when it's built up on external structures and nothing internalized, like your personality, then it becomes always juxtaposed towards somebody else's culture. Then you're trying to justify your identity versus somebody else's ethnic identity. And then that's how you have fighting or infighting, and you have a breakdown of society. That's why I don't really like Stefan Molyneux's standpoint on race. Not because I don't think he has a lot of points to make. He has a ton of points to make. But the thing is, his points are based off of a premise that we are our color. I didn't choose to be put in this body, man. It's not like, you know, I chose to be black or whatever color I am. I was just showed up one day and here I am. I'm on the scene. Bam. This is the card you're dealt, and this is what you got to deal with. Now, I have learned that it doesn't help me to identify with my color, and it doesn't help society for me to adhere to one sort of ideology and cultural basis, okay? What it helps me to do is to understand things, to help understand society and its creation and history. I recognize that, and I move forward from that standpoint. Some people have other standpoints, like my girlfriend. She's Nicaraguan, all right? She loves having her culture. That's something Hispanic people love to do, is, you know, celebrate their own culture. But I'm saying celebrating your culture and being guilty towards your own culture is the same thing. It's called your culture, right? It doesn't matter how you feel about your culture. You're adhering to the idea of I have a culture, and it's based upon some sort of externalities. That's it. Now, you can justify that with statistics if you want to. You can justify anything with statistics. That's why Mark Twain says there's lies, damn lies in statistics, because you can justify anything with statistics, even if it's a damn lie. It doesn't matter. Studies can show you anything you want to see, and you could just, you know, go along those studies. And then those studies will back up whatever preconceived notions you have about somebody, and that's called an echo chamber. So I don't want to listen to anybody that's using echo chamber beliefs to keep their mentality going on about taking white people to the stars. That's why I don't fuck with Stefan Molyneux like that. Now, he has great standpoints, and he can call out hypocrisy and, you know, the SJW movement. That's good. Like I said that before, that's good. But moving forward, as far as society is concerned, it doesn't do us any good to keep on harping on these issues. We need to act as if we're more enlightened than these people and call it out, and then actually be more enlightened than these people. You can't call out racism and then try to talk about how you're a white male. It doesn't help you. So that's why I said, if you want to, you know, play that game and play this right side of that game, you're just playing into the game. Step outside of that game. Be above it. Be above that game. then we could focus on real things, things that affect us all.
Economy, foreign relations, defense systems. Economy, foreign relations, defense systems. Economy, foreign relations, defense systems.
The real things are the things that affect everybody, okay? They don't affect one certain group of people. The real things that we need to focus on as a society are the things that affect all people. And if you start off with economics, you start off with the money, because we all use money, right? We all got to buy the stuff that we have to have these computers and have YouTube. We all exist on the money system. I don't know anybody that you know that might have got a computer and an internet connection on hand-me-downs, okay? Or some hippie ideal of, you know, you can live off the land and freedom. No, us people talking on the internet, conversing with our typing fingers, we exist in the money system. So that's the one thing that affects us all. So then we could focus on who controls the money system, who controls the banking industry, and we could focus our attention together on those people, because a lot of times they all have the same intentions and goals, and that's to go overseas and start wars and kill people that can't fuck with them. So like I said, I'm about the anti-war movement, and I'm not about the anti-SJW movement. So with that, I'm going to show you how the SJWs were created in this society through YBezmenov. He broke it down. The SJW movement, he mentions, he's probably the first person to mention the term social justice warrior.
These are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality.
And he said it in 1984. It's not some new term that Paul Joseph Watson came up. A lot of people think that, you know, it's something that came around recently. No, it's been around for time. Social justice warriors have been around since the 60s and 50s. Goddamn motorcycle motherfuckers driving up my street. Anyways, so when we look into history and we see how it was created, why it was created generationally. It was created through certain generations of people. It takes about, he says, 15 years to basically institute certain ideologies into a culture. So by the time you're 15, from the time you're born to the time you're about 15, so you're about a junior moving into senior, or you know, sophomore moving into your senior, that age range, you already have set ideologies and set beliefs that you're going to freaking use for the rest of your life. So that's why, you know, we call them millennials, and we say they're clueless and they don't know what the fuck is happening, is because they weren't meant to. So anybody born in the year 2000 that hasn't been introduced to outside ideas, outside of the culture, yeah, they're in their phone, they're in their iPad, they're in their Nintendo Game Boys, whatever they have nowadays, and they're stuck. That's how they see the world. They're going to see the world forever from that standpoint. My son, born in 2010, he's going to be like this, unless, you know, we're giving these kids something else others outside of that culture. They're going to be stuck like that. Okay, so what's given to them through the culture, how images that they see, how people act and how people react to certain situations, that will become their ideologies. That will become the framework for their brain to operate on, right? That's their new operating system. So what YBezmenov is talking about is how they can put operating systems into place through TV and movies, not by hundreds of different people, you know, typing shit. No, it's just through images. You learn through images. That's why they put Kim Kardashian up on that stage. And so young women become sluts, basically. They degrade themselves. They put themselves on Instagram and they show their titties off and their legs off. That wasn't just some random occurrence because all of a sudden we got technology. No, it was put into place by certain figureheads. And they use people like Kim Kardashian to do that. We all kind of get a sense of that, but a lot of people don't. They don't have an idea of how that was created, and they just, you know, are part of it now. And then they become, like you said, social justice warriors fighting for issues like, no wonder Kim Kardashian's dad is now a woman in his head. He's not a woman. That is a man. He has a dick. Okay. So, and now am I going to go up to them in a public setting and call them out and say, hey, you're really a man? No, I understand that it was part of our culture and our upbringing to, you know, be okay with these ideas. I can't knock people for that, but I do want to show them how it was a deliberate plan, how you know, what you think and your ideologies wouldn't have been natural to you 100 years ago. You probably wouldn't have these issues. It was given to you. So with that, I'm going to leave you with YBezmenov talking to you, showing you how this SJW movement was created in America and how it was created and why it was created. And it was created to do exactly what it's doing right now, to keep you guys divided along these certain lines, and you will never wake up because now you're fighting with each other instead of seeing who's actually controlling the value of your money.
Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets use the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black. You still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people, and the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. Obviously they will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation, what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. Economy, foreign relations, defense systems. Economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins, never mind. He will create false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. The United States is in the state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
Okay, so what do we do? What is your recommendation to the American people?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, of course, there must be a very strong national effort to educate people in the spirit of real patriotism, number one. Number two, to explain them the real danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. If people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including freedoms to homosexuals, to prison inmate. All this freedom will vanish, evaporate in 5 seconds, including your precious lives. The second thing, the moment at least part of the United States population is convinced that the danger is real, they have to force their government. And I'm not talking about sending letters, signing petitions, and all this beautiful, noble activity. I'm talking about forcing United States government to stop aiding communism. Because there is no other problem more burning and urgent than to stop the Soviet military-industrial complex from destroying whatever is left of the free world. And it is very easy to do. No credits, no technology, no money, no political or diplomatic recognition, and of course no such idiocy as grain deals to USSR. The Soviet people, 270 millions of Soviets, will be eternally thankful to you if you stop aiding a bunch of murderers who sit now in Kremlin and whom President Reagan respectfully calls government. They do not govern anything, least of all such complexity as the Soviet economy. So basic, two very simple, maybe too simplistic answers or solutions, but nevertheless they are the only solutions. Educate yourself, understand what's going on around you. You are not living at the time of peace. You are in a state of war, and you have precious little time to save yourself. You don't have much time, especially if you are talking about young generation. There's not much time left for convulsions to the beautiful disco music. Very soon it will go, just overnight. If we are talking about capitalists or wealthy businessmen, I think they are selling the rope on which they will hang very soon. If they don't stop, if they cannot curb their unsettled desire for profit, and if they keep on trading with the monster of the Soviet communism, they are going to hang very soon. And they will pray to be killed, but unfortunately they will be sent to Alaska probably to manage industry of slaves. It's simplistic. I know it sounds unpleasant. I know Americans don't like to listen to things which are unpleasant. But I have defected not to tell you the stories about such idiocy as microfilm, James Bond type espionage. This is garbage. You don't need any espionage anymore. I have come to talk about survival. It's a question of survival of this system. You may ask me, what is it in for me? Survival, obviously, because unlike, as I said, I am now in your boat. If we sing together, we'll sing beautifully together. There is no other place on this planet to defect to.